away from Game 3 of this 3-game weekend set, Citi Field in New York. I'm Jim Day. You knew that Curtis Granderson is swinging a red-hot bat coming into this series. Had a home run off of Johnny Cueto on Friday night. And before the suspended game, had a double home run and walk yesterday, and he's our T-Mobile game changer. Today, once the game resumed, walk, reached on base on an error, and then a single. And look at his numbers over the last 7 games. .462 average, 5 home runs, 5 runs driven in, and scored 6 runs. The rest of the team, you can see, not getting it done. Curtis Granderson literally carrying his team right now, and certainly a game changer. Well, it's not quite that old saying, let's play 2, but it's close. 9 more to go. Innings, that is.
Out from Citi Field in New York is brought to you by Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy, check out our award-winning lineup at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Hey, feeling good? It's Skyline time. Well, the Mets feeling pretty good after taking the first 2 games of this series, and hard to believe 2-1 scores in both counts, and the Mets overall were 0 for 18 with runners in scoring position and still wound up winning the 2 games. Now, we still don't have a final ruling. At first, they ruled an error on the Joey Votto play at first. Then they ruled a hit, and then they ruled a fielder's choice. So we don't know how that final play was scored. We do know, most importantly, with the bases loaded, that the run scored and the Mets won it by a final score of 2-1. We're ready to go to game number 2. Steven Matz is the young man who takes the mound, making his major league debut, and doesn't get old, Chris. Whenever this day comes, it's pretty special for whoever has to go through it.
Well, you're right about that. And, you know, considering the fact that he is a local boy, he's from Long Island, so it's not very far away. He's got at least 100 friends and family that he knows about who will be at the game today, and probably half of Long Island here that he doesn't know is coming up. Those are the numbers that he has at AAA. And what is especially good about those numbers, especially his earned run average, is the fact that that ballpark in Las Vegas is about as good a hitting ballpark and hitting league that you will have in all of baseball. So ultra impressive this young man is. He's only 24 years old, and they expect big things out of Steven Matz.
Over the years, Chris, we've watched in the PCL as you look at statistics, and very often there'll be 25, maybe more players that are hitting over 300 in the league. So it's a league of hitters, not a league of pitchers. And when you put up numbers like that, you got to be pitching pretty well.
You better believe it. And I think what was most interesting about Matz is that he's not a typical Mets phenom who comes out here and throws 98 miles an hour. He's got good control of his breaking pitches and nice command of his fastball, which should ride in the low 90s.
So Matt's ready to go to work. Here's Brandon Phillips. That's way wide for ball one.
And going up at 96, a little harder than I think I would expected to see today.
74 degrees at the start of this one here at Citi Field. We've had a little bit of everything, some rain, some mist, then the sunshine popped out for the better part of almost an hour and a half. Now the clouds have come back in. 2 balls, no strikes. Matt's the lefty to Brandon Phillips. And that misses. Your umpires for game 2 today: Ed Hickox behind the plate, Mike Estabrook at first, Dana DeMutacucci at second, and Tom Woodring over at third. That's a strike. 3 balls and 1 strike to Brandon. Phillips in game 1 had the double that knocked in the Reds' run in the 5th inning yesterday. This one hit pretty good, going deep to left, looking up. It's going to be off the top of the wall. Is it over the line? No, it isn't. Phillips will head back to first, and he'll be in there with a base hit. Came very close to going out of the ballpark. And Brandon, with that one swing, continues what is a remarkable number for him. That is now 32 consecutive games against the Mets here in New York with a base hit.
I'll tell you what, that is a bolt right there, and the birthday boy nearly got one. And they're going to take a review, right?
It's over the line, and that's supposed to be a homer.
Well, anything over that orange line is a home run. So if the umpires didn't see it at first, and Brian feels like there's a need for a review there, he's going to ask for one.
I mean, off the bat, it looked like a homer.
I don't think this is a manager's review here.
No.
This is a review that he can ask the managers to take a look, and if they feel there's a certain degree of uncertainty, they will take a look, so it's a free look for Brian Price.
And how about Brandon Phillips, Chris? After 2 rough days, 2 2-1 losses, 2 long days, after getting in 5 o'clock a.m. yesterday, this guy celebrates his birthday with a swing like this.
You know what? You got a little extra adrenaline going. If it is above the line when it hits, and we'll take a look right there, I think that's a home run. Well, this is going to be a memorable first inning and first batter for Steven Matz. I mean, here he comes out and makes his major league debut. He faces Brandon Phillips, a very well-known player.
Umpire review of the big swing by Brandon. That's a home run. So take it easy, BP, and celebrate your birthday with this trot. That's a way to respond after a very difficult 24-hour game, and the Reds lose the first of this day. They get a high five from Joey, and he continues a remarkable stretch of 32 consecutive games against the Mets with a base hit. So the Reds lead at 1-0 here in inning number 1. Here's Joey. There's a breaking ball in there for a strike. Your first batter faced in the major leagues always memorable, but just to get it over with is big for the youngster, and for the Reds, a smiling side of the scoreboard. 5th career leadoff homer for Brandon, and a big swing. By the way, you saw down at the end of the bench Jason Bourgeois, the Reds outfielder who's been rehabbing and down at Louisville. We mentioned earlier there he is that the Reds could add on this suspended game doubleheader day. They could add a player, and Jason's been called up from Louisville. He is active for this game.
He broke his shoulder, if you remember, in spring training.
Broken bat down to second. Joey retired. There's your first out of the inning. He's worked a long way back to get back here.
Well, he has, you know, George, and it was a tough break for him because he was having a tremendous spring training. He was going to make it very difficult on the Reds to try to cut him at the time because he was having such a good spring. But that fracture of his shoulder blade just caused him, there's nothing you can do but to rest it. So he came back, and you see what he has done so far in his rehab stint with the Louisville Bats, 14 games, batted over 300.
Here's Frazier in at 288, 24 homers, 52 knocked in. Well, we talk about the injuries and what the Reds have had to go through up here. Delino, DeShields, and Teddy Power and the crew down there had to go through the same kind of thing, Chris. It's been a difficult season. Somehow Delino's keeping them around 500, which isn't an easy job. So kudos to all the guys down at Louisville who are hanging in there trying to get back in the race. No balls, 2 strikes to Frazier. Look out. Frazier in game 1 had a base hit in his final at bat in the 12th inning. 1 for 6 after going 1 for 4 in the first game of the series on Friday night. Got under it and skies it into left field. There to haul it in, the shortstop. As Tejada hangs it in and checking your starting lineup, your Meyer starting lineup for Brian Price. Phillips in the leadoff spot. Votto, then Frazier, then Bruce. Marlon Byrd moves from center to left. Pena behind the plate. Suarez back at short. Smith, the pitcher, bats in the 8th spot. And Billy Hamilton back to start this game in center field. So Tejada back in his normal spot at shortstop with Campbell defensively over at third. Flores moves from short to second for the second game today. There's Jay at 239, 12 homers and 38 knocked in. Bruce almost gave the Reds the lead in game 1. He hit one to the wall to lead off the 8th inning today when we resumed play. But Lagares picked it off the top of the wall. It at the least would have been off the top of the wall. It might have been out of the park. Breaking ball leaves it a little high. Will go full 3-2. And there's a walk. So the Reds get a 2-out base runner, and here comes Marlon Byrd. Here's a peek at your Mets defensive alignment for game 2. Over and left, you saw Mayberry chase that ball hit by Phillips. He's your left fielder. John Mayberry Jr. Siciliani's in center. Granderson, the red hot bat, is over and right. Campbell at third. Tejada moves from third to short. Flores from short to second, and Duda back at first. Linnell is your catcher. The lefty from the stretch. Byrd fouls it off to the right side.
Tell you what, he's got a nice easy motion and a fastball that just really is very lively right out of his fingertips.
Marlon 2 for 6 in the second game of the series. 1 infield hit and a base hit to left. One ball and 1 strike. A lanky left-hander. In fact, he looks taller than he is. He's 6'2", but long, lean, and lanky, and his motion reflects the same. Stony Brook, just outside of New York, Long Island. Another one of those guys, Chris, that's come back from Tommy John surgery.
Well, the interesting thing about Matz is that he was drafted in 2009, and then before he was able to pitch a professional inning in real games, They diagnosed his elbow as being torn, have a torn UCL. That's Tommy John surgery required. Then it took him 2 years to come back because of complications. And it was still aching him after a time after the Tommy John surgery where it should have felt good. So he went to see Dr. James Andrews, and James Andrews said, well, either you have scar tissue or you have another tear. The only way to find out is go out and throw. And he told him to go air it out, and he aired it out and threw 98 miles an hour, did not feel any pain, and he was back and playing professional baseball.
For anybody that's had arm difficulties, that's a scary moment because you don't know. I mean, is it going to blow out if you let it go? But you have to get to that point, and that's the difficult part of any rehab.
Well, the other part of it is that he joins so many others in this Mets organization that have Tommy John surgery. Matt Harvey, Jacob deGrom, Bobby Parnell, Andre Mejia, Jack Wheeler. They've got a long list of TJs.
There's a first and what will probably be a long list for Matt's, his first strikeout. But the first home run he gives up goes to Brandon Phillips. Reds lead at 1-0. Mets and the Reds, every time the Reds have come to New York City, it's always been a battle. And with the victory by the Mets have now won 149 games, the Reds 148 in New York. The Reds trying to even it up. Let's check the starting lineup for Terry Collins, the veteran manager. Curtis Granderson has been a one-man wrecking crew. A couple of homers in this series and a big hand in that winning rally in the 13th. Tejada, the shortstop, bats in the number 2 spot. Duda, Flores, Siciliani, Mayberry, Monell, Campbell, and Matz, the pitcher, bats in the number 9 spot. And here's the Reds' young right-hander, Josh Smith.
Well, maybe not quite as heralded as the guy that he's facing today, 21st round draft pick in 2010. He came out of college. He went to Lipscomb. And he is on his second major league start, having started a few days ago in Pittsburgh. And what we saw out of Josh Smith that day was really very uncharacteristic. If you look up and down his minor league numbers, and he's been all the way up the ladder from the very lowest ranks, is that he's always been pretty much of a strike thrower.
Line drive off the bat of Granderson. That's all he does, right? Line drives. One away.
And then, but last time out, Smith unfortunately walked 6 batters, and a lot of that was due to nerves and just trying to get under control that he was in the big leagues. So it just goes to show you that if you throw strikes, not every hard ball that they hit will end up as a hit.
Line drive, but an out. Here's Tejada at 254, a homer and 12 knocked in. Ruben back to his normal shortstop position, which is probably where he'll move shortly when Murphy comes back up from his rehab. That's on the outside corner, just wide. 1 ball and 1 strike. Duda will follow. Locked him up with that breaking ball, and it's 1-2. Nice easy motion from big number 64.
A little different motion, really. He kind of works around the baseball. You see a big hip turn here. Not a lot of drive from the plate, but, you know, the deception lies in hiding the ball. A little sneaky fastball, even though it's, you know, in the low 90s. You don't see hitters getting really good looks at him because he does hide the ball very well. Gives you that big look of a front shoulder right there. And his changeup was a pitch that I was impressed with when he pitched in Pittsburgh.
Here's the 1-2.
I mean, hitters don't hit off the radar gun. Hitters hit what they see. So if you're deceptive, you can get by at 88 or 90, 91. If you don't have much deception, you better throw a lot harder.
Those that combine the two usually end up with pretty good careers. Duda on deck. Well, Tejada's had 3 lengthy at bats today already. 1 11 pitch at bat, another 9 pitch at bat, and this will be the 8th pitch in this at bat. There are times, Chris, when this young man will flash always great defense, but offensively sometimes when he shortens his swing and becomes disciplined at the plate, he'll give you great at bats. Other times he'll have difficulty. Back goes Phillips. Brandon there. He'll cradle it for the 2nd out. Check your 4 defensive alignment for the Reds. You see Brandon out at 2nd. In the outfield, Bird moves back to left. Hamilton, who pinch ran in the first game but didn't play at all other than that, is in center, and Bruce is over in right. Frazier's at 3rd. Eugenio Suarez is the shortstop. Phillips and Votto across the infield, and Pena behind the plate catching Smith. Defensively, the Reds were charged with at least 2 errors in game 1. Maybe 3. We're not really sure yet. At the end of the game, they charged Votto with an error. And then they took the error off the board. Suarez also made an error in that 13th inning. And the word is it's still under review. Could be a fielder's choice, could be a base hit. In any event, the run scored on the ground ball to first with the bases loaded. And the Mets won it 2-1. Duda 10 homers and 33 knocked in. So far, the Reds have handled him pretty well in this series. And there's ball 4. Duda down to first, and here comes Flores. Chris, we talk a lot about the development of players, the drafting. I mean, you look and see what you have. I mean, you know, Lipscomb College was the home base for Josh, and on Long Island was where the youngster Mats came from. And as they come through the system, you know, Teddy Powers watching very closely to see how Josh does today. And Frankie Viola, the former Mets pitcher, now the AAA pitching coach at Vegas, is watching Mats to see how he's doing.
You're exactly right. He was reunited actually this year in Vegas with Frank Viola, and Viola has had a lot to do with his advancement, both with his breaking pitch, but especially the changeup, which was, of course, Frankie's #1 pitch.
Sweet music. He could deal. way out in front, swinging a miss by Flores, 2-1.
You know, the other guy who's probably sitting around in front of a TV set if he's not here watching the debut of Steven Matz is another former major leaguer, Neil Heaton. Neil Heaton actually started giving Matz pitching lessons when Matz was 10 years old out on the island.
He had the knuckle curve.
Yes, he did.
I remember that.
Former University of Miami Hurricane.
Yep. Great tradition. Ronnie Frazier, then Skip Bertman, the pitching coach down there. And Bertman, of course, became a great manager in his own right at LSU. One of the great college coaches of any generation. Flores fouls it off. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Nice to have a guy who's won a Cy Young Award like Viola, but also nice to have a Hall of Famer like Robin Roberts as a pitching coach for you, huh?
You know, you get good advice from every pitching coach or every hitting coach you get. It seems like they all eventually say the same thing, but they're saying it in different ways. Because there aren't a lot of, there are a lot of different ways of doing it, but there are millions of ways to describe it.
And everybody is taught differently. You click with one person, maybe some person would say the same thing but not click with you.
Exactly right.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Pena telling Smith to shake off. They come back with the same pitch. Down and away. Pena sets up. Got him. Strikeout number 1 of the afternoon. A walk and a runner left. Smith due up third.
By Elkanal, because we've talked in this series, the Mets have going with the 6-man rotation now. Cologne, Neese, Harvey, DeGrom, Syndergaard, and now the youngster Steven Matz. So 6 men to make up that starting rotation. What do you think, Chris Welsh?
You know, Jim Day, they're not the first team to do that. In the past, many teams have done it, including the Braves and the Twins in the last few years. And, you know, there are different kind of considerations that the front office has to take into consideration when you think about a 6-man rotation. Number one, the first thing you got to think about is do you have enough pitchers to be legitimate major league starters? And are you willing to play with either a short bench or a short bullpen because you've got one extra starter? And is it temporary or is it long term? You're just going to cover a period of time, maybe 20 days where you play without an off day? Those are the things the front office has to look at. Now, the advantages of having a 6-man rotation are a couple. You know, it limits the innings of young pitchers, which is one reason why the Mets are doing it. If you're recovering from an injury, that will help you there because you get more time between starts. And again, if you've got a long stretch with no off days, in the major leagues you can go 20 days in a row without an off day, and oftentimes that will give your pitchers a breather if you have another guy in the rotation to make it 6 overall.
Pena bounces out. Here's Eugenio Suarez hitting in the 7th spot. You know, and when you look at the Mets and you say, why Mets? Well, number one, they have pitchers that are recovering from Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
Number two, they're in a pennant race, and they want all of those pitchers to be available when they get to September, so you limit the innings. Hopeful. We went through this with Steven Strasburg a couple of years ago. You know, if the Washington Nationals had just started him a month later, not started him or gave him extra days off, they wouldn't have had to have shut him down come September if you manage those innings as you headed to the end of the year.
Well, the Reds are looking at the same thing really with Michael Lorenzen at the end of the year. How many innings is he going to log? And so there are some disadvantages too to having a 6-man rotation. You know, again, you're going to be short a player either on the bench or in the bullpen. It reduces the innings of the best pitchers that you have, and they've got 2 pitchers here, Bartolo Colon and Jonathan Neese, who have no pitch restrictions at all. So, you know, they may not like it because they may have bonuses in their contracts that say, hey, if I make 30 starts, I get this much money. If I make 33 starts, I get even more money. So, you know, there are pros and cons, and
very seldom would it be done with a veteran staff. It would start with a young staff, and Cologne in this particular case certainly would be damaged in terms of inning bonuses and victory bonuses.
Right. And the other hand is, you know, the other thing is it temporary. It may not be something that you want to do all year long, but it might be something that you want to do maybe for a month.
There's a big breaking ball that drops in there for a strike, and that's strikeout number 2 for Matz in 2 innings of work. The homer by Phillips. Reds lead at 1-0. To the bottom of 2 we go.
Josh Smith set for a 2nd inning of work here on Fox Sports Ohio. During his major league debut, I had the chance to talk to his dad in the stands, and it was actually while Josh was up at the plate, and he got his first major league hit. It was quite the moment, as you can see Dad reacting to it. Now, he went out of his way, as well as his father, apologizing, saying, "I'm sorry my dad just forgot your interview and just stood up." And I said, "Josh, please." I would have felt badly about doing the interview had he not just turned it on and been a father at that moment. It was a terrific moment, and they're actually glad that they have it on video with audio of his dad celebrating that big, big moment. And also his sister Jenna. Josh showed me a video actually emailed it to me, of his sister Jenny, who rented out part of a sports bar in South Florida, had no idea that Dad was going to be interviewed. And on the video, she's just going crazy, like, there's my dad, and then she goes ultimately crazy and starts jumping and screaming when he got his first major league hit. So a terrific moment for the family. And Josh and Dad, if you're listening, I am so glad at that moment that you were a dad.
Siciliano bounces this one to short, and Suarez will be charged with an error. He had an error in game number 1, and this one looks like it went off his thumb as he went down to scoop it up. But he'll be charged with his second error of the day.
I've always believed that hitters, pitchers go into slumps. You know, you have a string of some bad innings or some bad games, and you could go into a defensive slump as well. That ball came up on him a little bit. It wasn't a perfect hop, but right now he's in one of those little grooves.
And, you know, we talked about it earlier. I mean, give credit to the guys here, and, you know, Bill Deacon, the head grounds crew guy, they've done a good job. But this field, it looks pretty good, but it's awful clumpy underneath there with 2 straight days of rain. So it looks a lot better than it actually is for ground balls right now. But JD, getting back to you, you know, we look at every year, you go back on the year and you look at the great moments. I know for you, as I watched that take place too, you know, for Josh's dad, that was a pretty special moment. And for anybody, there's Votto chasing. Will he have room? He won't. But I'm sure when your year is over, you'll look back on that as one of the highlights for you too.
Well, yeah, and, you know, unfortunately, I've interviewed parents that it wasn't a great moment when their kid was making a debut. In fact, it happened earlier this season. I was talking to Michael Lorenz's mother, and he happened to give up a home run at the time. So it's not always a great moment, but it's welcome to the big leagues either way. But that one was certainly a special one.
So Siciliani's on at first, and here's John Mayberry Jr. at 182, 3 homers, 9 knocked in. He pinch hit in the first game today, his lone plate appearance. At bats have been infrequent for him. Siciliani off first. Check swing, who'll get there? Pena will, and they'll get the out.
Are you calling it a foul ball?
Foul ball at the plate.
Oh, he double hit it.
Hit the bat twice while he's still in the batter's box. So first I thought it might have gone off his leg, but he ran. So
took us a couple of reviews to figure that out.
Yeah. There goes the runner. There's it. Ball hit down to third. They'll take the out at first. Going to second will be Siciliani. For those of you that might not have been with us on Friday, we talked a lot about it. Chris, you had a chance to go down and visit the replay center. And you know, we've been following this for the last couple of years as it's unfolded. But this was your first time at getting a look inside the replay center. Your evaluation of what you saw and what it's become.
Well, anybody who goes in there, if you're not an IT specialist, you're simply blown away by the technology and how efficient that they've got it. And I know that there are times when it seems like those replays and the reviews, they take forever. But when you sit in the hot seat and they review a tight play, and then you think you've got it, and then they give you another angle and you're not so sure you have it, and then they give you a third angle and you think that maybe it goes the other way, and then you ask yourself, would you bet your house on the decision? Because that's what they want. They want to make sure that you really feel strongly you're getting it right. And all of a sudden, the guy tells you, well, you know, we are already 2 minutes into the review here. And at that point, you say, wow, the job that they have trying to do these reviews is not an easy one at all. but they have figured out about as good a procedure as they possibly can so far. And I think it's worked much better this year than last year, and I just think it's going to be more and more efficient as we go forward.
2-0 in there for a strike, 2-1.
I think the umpires have embraced it. There are 2 umpire crews each week for 7 days that are in that review room. They get there well before any of the ball games start, and they're there until after every ball game, even the late ones on the West Coast, are done.
You say for an umpire you think it's an easy week when you do come in, but it's a long day when you do come in.
Well, it is a long day. And a lot of these guys, you have to remember that these umpires are not used to watching games on television. I mean, they either watch them live or they don't watch them at all until they go into the review room. And this I can't believe, unfortunately, is that, George, they mute the sound.
Thankfully. Here's a 3-1.
Of course, you can't have 15 games going on at the same time and with the sound turned up. It's quite a place, and you'd never know it when you walk into it and see it. You'd never know that looking at the building that it would house something as important to America's pastime as it is.
3 balls, 2 strikes to Johnny Monell. That's knocked down by Phillips, and he'll get the out.
That guy is a magician.
Amazing. Brandon, who gave the Reds a lead with his bat, saves a run here with his glove. He's something else.
I mean, we just get so used to seeing this that we automatically assume as Reds fans, having seen Brandon play, 1,000 games, that anything hit to the right side that he gets to, you're out. And more often than not, you are out, and he's smiling.
Here's Eric Campbell with the runner going to third. And again, the value of a great defensive player on a day like this is even magnified more. Because as we said, while that infield looks pretty good after the 2 days of solid rain that we've had, it's pretty clumpy and the ball will take some funny hops. And you could see that one, the divot come up as it hit the dirt.
Well, if they all took good hops, George, anybody could make the play.
Here's Eric Campbell at 171. 2 homers and 12 knocked in. Having won the first 2 games of the series, and they will walk him intentionally, falling behind 3-0, and deal with the pitcher Matt. So Matz will get his first start, and Steven will get his first major league at bat here too. It's a nice round of applause from a crowd of over 30,000 here to see baseball, to see the youngster make his debut. And also there's a Steve Miller Band concert coming up after the game, so they're going to hang around. Will go down as an intentional free pass, and Matz comes to the plate. Pretty good rip. Hit pretty good to center. Hamilton going back, looking up, and he can't get it. 2 runs are going to score. Matz will have a double. How about that for the rookie? His first major league at bat. He knocks in 2 with a 2-base hit, and he's getting a standing ovation here in New York.
Big moment for that young man, there's no doubt. I mean, he's probably got 500 people from his hometown here, which is not too far from Citi Field. And he hit that ball a long, long way.
Yes, Billy Hamilton was playing shallow, but he got all the way back to the warning track when it first hit. And the emotion as he hit second base exploded for the young left-hander. Here's Granderson. He lined to right first time up. Take another look. Watch this. Now, importantly for him, he gets a hit in his first major league at bat. More importantly for his team, it knocks in 2, and the 1-0 lead for the Reds erased. It's 2-1 Mets. That's a strike, 2-1. Left field, back, looking up, Bird got it. So the error to start the inning proves to be costly, and Matz cashes it in. The double plates too. 2-1 Mets. They take on the Brewers for as low as $12. Plus, stick around after the game for a great Fireworks Friday show featuring a live concert by the Cincinnati Pops Orchestra, presented by Coca-Cola. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or reds.com/tickets. Best fireworks in baseball right at the ballpark by the river. Fireworks of his own from Steven Matz. The double plates too. Mets take a 2-1 lead. Here we go to the top of the third. Billy Hamilton to lead it off. Throwing bunt, Matz quickly off, and they get him by half a step. Nice job by Matz, the lefty, who falls off towards the third base side. He covered that right side well.
Yeah, he wanted to get that ball, Billy did, a little bit more towards the first baseline. It was kind of way too much towards the mound. And if he's able to push it towards the second baseman a little bit more, he's got a chance. Actually, he's got a chance to walk to first base without even a play. But even at that, it's pretty close. One hesitation by Matz, and Billy Hamilton is safe. I wish he would incorporate that effort of a bunt a little bit more into his game. Hamilton, that is.
Here's Brandon in the leadoff spot. He homered first time up.
Nice curveball right there. It really is. 75 miles an hour. Nice, easy delivery. Most hitters are not going to swing at a first pitch curveball.
We've talked a lot about Harvey and Syndergaard, the two young starters with the 97-mile-an-hour fastballs. But if you put this guy in the same evaluative process, he doesn't throw his fastball as fast as that guy or as Harvey, but he has a better breaking ball.
That's a pretty good changeup right there, too. Well, what Matz is going to find is that his curveball will break more here in New York than it did in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Even though the seams on the baseballs at the big league level are smaller than those in AAA. There's more humidity in the air in New York, obviously, than in Vegas. And that is a plus-plus changeup.
Fastball in there to Joey. Votto bounced to second first time up. Nasty breaking ball at 77 miles an hour, 0-2. Part of the process, Chris. As a pitcher, you're facing new people. As a hitter, you're facing kids you haven't seen either.
Well, you're right, but for Matz, he's facing a guy who he knows in Joey Votto. And Joey Votto only sees a young pitcher with iffy control and a really good arm on the mound, and he's wondering if that ball, when it comes out of his hand, is going at his head or if it's going to break over to the outside edge. Pretty remarkable numbers, really, that Joey Votto is still hitting 12 points higher versus lefties than he does righties. I would say his on-base percentage is higher as well because he works a lot of walks.
Here's the 2-2. That's up high. You can look at all the video you want before you face a pitcher. Not like seeing him on the mound. Full count, 3-2 to Votto. Ball strike 3 to Joey. He strikes out 2, 4 strikeouts in the first 3 innings for Matz. 2-1 Mets. Tejada will lead it off. 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup semis. Alex Morgan and Team USA take on Germany. Trip to the final is on the line. Coverage begins Tuesday at 6 Eastern only on your local Fox station. That'll be Channel 19 back in Cincinnati and also streaming live on Fox Sports Go. United States with their 1-0 win over China, making it to the showdown with Germany. Veteran German team, and the U.S. will have to step up their game against the Germans here in the semis. Here's Josh back to work facing Tejada, who popped to second first time up. Reds got a run on the homer by Phillips in the first. An error, an intentional walk, and a double led to the 2 unearned runs in the second for the Mets, and they lead it 2-1. Nationals won the first of 2 over the first one today. Phillies 3-2 after their rain out yesterday. Dodgers winners over Miami, the final 2-0. And Atlanta beat the Buccos 2-1. Popped up right side. It'll be in the seats. Arizona leads San Diego 4-3 in the 5th. Second game underway in the second. The Phillies lead it 1-0 against Washington. Cubs and Cardinals still to come. Down the right field line, that'll be in the seats and out of play. Injuries or not, Chris, the Cardinals just keep on winning. Cardinals start today 8 games ahead of the Pirates. Cubs 10.5 back, Reds 15 back. Milwaukee 23 back in the Central Division.
Now the Cardinals are already to 50 wins. They are the only team in baseball with more than 44 wins. I mean, so they're really lapping the field. This is a very difficult year for anybody else really to get back in the race here in the Central Division as far as the division title, unless you see a collapse of the Cardinals. Don't know what they're going to do at the trading deadline, but where they've made their real mark is when they play at home. They are 28-7, 21 games over 500 playing at home.
And the 2 best teams in baseball record-wise now both come from Missouri. The Kansas City Royals are doing the number 2, 43-28, leading the American League Central by 4.5 over Minnesota.
I mean, the Cardinals have lost only 7 games at home all year long.
The next best team at home.
And we're almost to July.
This team, the Mets, is the next best team at home.
Yeah, you're right.
They've been amazing.
Yeah, that sounds like a nice little catchphrase there.
Amazing. 28-11. Lucas Duda walked in the first. No balls, 2 strikes. The Mets at one point had a 1.5 lead in the East, and then that 7-game losing streak saw it go from a 1.5 ahead to 3.5 behind, and that's where they started today.
Well, they started the season out, if you remember, I mean, really balls of fire. They were 13-3 in their first 16 games, and no one ever thought that they were going to sustain that rate of winning. Of course, they couldn't do it. But since that time, they've played about 10 games under 500. So they come back to earth. They've had some injuries, obviously, to their main players like David Wright. They still don't know whether they're going to get him back. And they have not done anything in order to go outside the organization to get any replacements offensively. And the question is, will they do that or not? Or are they building for the future with this nice collection of young arms that we've had a sneak preview of this weekend?
I mean, their pitching has been outstanding, both starting pitching and bullpen. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And you wonder, I mean, bringing Matz up right now, you wonder if there may be some interest in Matz or one of the other pitchers that would allow them to trade for the bat that they need to make their offense better. Popped up left side and in the seats. Reds overshift on Duda most of the time when there's no one on base, and here it's the dramatic overshift with Frazier in the shortstop spot. 2-2. Big internal debate in the Mets organization. Would it be Ike Davis or Lucas Duda that they would keep as the first baseman? After Davis had the one big home run year, it tilted towards Ike, and eventually they traded Ike, and Duda is the man left standing. He's shown some power. The question is, will it repeat year after year? This year, 10 homers, 32 knocked in, and a 261 average. Pop up behind second. Who's going to get there? Billy will. Second out of the inning. And that'll bring up Flores, who struck out his first time up. Talk about the great season that Zach Cozart was having at short. Good power numbers. This guy, when we hit the month of June, was the #1 home run hitting shortstop in Major League Baseball. He still is #2, sitting on 10. But a big surprise in the early going with the injuries they've had. He's had a chance to play more often and to play at short. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, you certainly like the power numbers from Wilmer Flores. You also like the fact that at 6'3", about 205 pounds, he's only 23 years old. So you add, 5 years at probably 15 to 20 pounds, and this guy will be a force in the middle of the lineup. Don't know if he's going to play shortstop forever, but he's a guy that I certainly think from an offensive standpoint, he's just going to get better and better and more of a threat each year. He hit only 6 home runs last year. He has 10 already this year.
One ball, 2 strikes with 2 outs here in the third. High in the air to left. Bird going back at the wall, looking up, reaching up, and he got it. He got it. Well, Lagares stole one from Bruce, and Bird at the wall picks one that at very least would have been off the top of the wall. Would have been over the line? Maybe. Still 2-1 Mets. The Birdman grabs one. you are with MLB.com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replays, reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCasts, and a whole lot more. Get MLB.com At Bat for your smartphone or your tablet. Here's Frazier to face Matz. Frazier popped the short first time up. Reds would love to get him untracked. He would too, coming home to the New York area. Had a base hit in each of the 2 games. But they've handled him pretty well in the meat of this Reds lineup. Frazier, Bruce, and Bird due up. Popped up to short against Matz first time up. Bruce walked first time up. And then Bird struck out against Matz.
Really, if you look at this whole series, George, only 3 games in, but I mean, they've handled everybody in the top 4 except for Brandon Phillips.
Hit pretty good.
And maybe Bruce.
Going to left, going back. Frazier's got one. Well, the Frazier clan has something to smile about as Todd ties this one at 2. Out in front. Big high fly ball deep down the line, and for Frazier, that's home run number 25, RBI number 53. The Frazier fanatics loving every moment of this.
Well, you got to wonder in this ballpark, who has more fans here today? A Long Island native, Steven Matz, or the Toms River, New Jersey guy, Todd Frazier? Boy, he puts a good swing on that pitch.
Toms River tomahawk from Frazier, and we're tied at 2. That one felt good after a couple of rough at bats. Home run leaders, you know about Stanton on the disabled list, out for at least 6 weeks, sitting on 27, and Todd now at 25 round trippers. There's Jay. Walk first time up on a 3-2 pitch.
Reds have 2 hits off of Matz, both of them homers.
A couple of more would be nice. Pop back and out of play. Our Kia driver's seat numbers. Jay Bruce, last 10 games, turned it around. Averaged near 400 with 3 homers, 9 knocked in. Some good at bats. Facing a tough lefty here. And the 2nd straight walk. And that'll bring up Marlin. Bruce robbed of a home run in game 1 today, the suspended game, on a great catch by Juan Lagares in center field up against the wall. A ball that at the very least would have been off the top of the wall, might have been a home run. And as Marlon Byrd comes to the plate, he returned the favor with an outstanding catch off Flores' bat to end the 3rd. Down the right field line. Room there for Granderson. He's got it. 1 away. Here's another look at the catch by Marlin, Chris.
I'll tell you, he's very athletic. He keeps himself in great shape, and he times this perfectly. I don't know what the trajectory of that ball, whether he robs a home run, but he certainly robs extra bases. And that is one we're seeing again.
Great job from the Birdman.
Really good catch.
Oh, homer by Frazier, walk to Bruce, and the fly ball out. Here's Pena with 1 away. I guess whether you're Josh Smith in his first major league game, and then here today with Matt's his first major league game, you give up the homer the first batter you face. That takes a little bit of the edge off. You get your first major league hit. Is he back down on earth yet? Or are the jitters still there?
I think the jitters are still there. Your first major league debut, you have so many things that are outside the game going on. It's just noise. And you're trying to get into a groove. Now you fall behind, you give up another home run, you had the lead. You're thinking of all the things that could be on your major league debut, and most of the time they're not, which is a no-hitter on my major league debut, a shutout, I strike out 15, I hit a home run, all those kind of things.
Good glove from Matz. He turns it into a 1-6-3 double play. Handled himself well on the mound. Frazier handled himself well at the plate. Home run number 25. A Tom's River tomahawk from Frazier. Fox Sports Ohio being brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. By Meyer. Find more for a healthier you at Meyer. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on United States News and World Report's Best Children's Hospital. Welcome back to Citi Field in New York, the new home of the New York Mets, right adjacent to where Shea Stadium was. Same parking lot. Beautiful brand new edifice. For Todd Frazier, a place where he very often came as a youngster to watch baseball with mom, dad, and his brothers. He's usually hit well here, and today he's given the Reds a homer that's tied at Frazier's 25th. Has given us a 2-2 ball game. Phillips and Frazier each homered. If you joined us late, Brandon Phillips' home run now gives him 32 straight games against the Mets. Every game he's ever played here in New York, either at Shea, 10 games, or 22 here against the Mets at Citi Field. Every one he's had a hit in. That's remarkable, Chris.
It really is. I think you get a feeling that when he started doing that early in his career that you thought, well, Brandon really likes the big stage.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get any bigger than New York. And he figures out a way to turn it on here when he gets to the Big Apple.
He's comfortable on any stage, isn't he?
The birthday boy.
Here's Siciliani. Loop to right. Bruce there got it. Might have broken his bat on top of it.
Josh had a nice inning in the third. He had a 3-batter inning, including that great catch by Marlon Byrd out there. But he's a guy, the more I see him pitch, the more you appreciate that he has a really good feel for pitching. I called up Ted Power before he got his first major league start just to kind of get a report on him, and he said, you're going to be impressed with the way he follows up one pitch with the next. He's really good at reading the hitters and how they see his pitches and how they react, and it's good to have a feel for pitching. He keeps the ball down there and pitches to contact, and good things will happen.
Walks got him in trouble last time out, but he's stayed within himself here today. John Mayberry Jr. down and away for a ball, 2-0.
He's only given up one hit, and that was that double to the opposing pitcher. The 2 runs are unearned, at least by my book.
Yep. Started with an error by the shortstop Suarez in the second. Then a ground out and another ground out. Inning would have been over after that. An intentional walk and the double by the pitcher Matz for his first major league hit, played at 2. Three and one. Ripped down the line, curving, it'll go foul. You leave it up there, he can punish it, and boy did he with that swing.
Well, he's a really big guy. I mentioned earlier in the first game when he pinch hit, he's 6 feet 6 inches tall. And he's a strong guy, but with that long frame comes a long swing. And I think that's the one thing that has kept John Mayberry Jr. from reaching the heights that a lot of people thought he was going to reach in the major leagues. Got a big strike zone to cover, kind of a long swing and a longer path through the ball than he probably wants.
Full count, 3-2. Swing and a miss. Mayberry retired, second out of the 4th.
Really good idea right there. You go up the ladder a little bit on a tall guy. Most tall hitters are much better at being low ball hitters than they are high ball hitters, and he just goes right up the ladder.
Josh has 2 away here in the 4th. Here's the catcher Monell. A little bit of everything weather-wise today. Rain stopped this morning and started in the late morning time in a misting rain. Then the rain started to come down fairly heavily right before the start of the resumption of yesterday's suspended game. And then the sun came out for almost 2 hours, middle of the day. Now the clouds are back and there's a few sprinkles around the ballpark. Ball and a strike. Reds, after the trip to Pittsburgh and the Mets, will head home to take on the Twins Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, off day Thursday, and then the Brew Crew come to town. Ripped, curving towards the corner. It will be a fair ball. Rounding first, going to second is Monell. Bruce's throw to second. They're going to get him. Perfect throw from Jay Bruce. The Reds have come up with 2 perfect throws from the corner. One by Schumacher in game 1 from the left field corner. This one by Jay Bruce from the right field corner to cut down a runner at second. So we're staying tied at 2. Another look at the gun from the Beaumont Bomber.
of Famers, including Barry Larkin, Tony Perez, Eric Davis, and many more at the T-Mobile All-Star Fan Fest with the price of admission. Tickets available now at allstargame.com. I'm Jim Day. Reds catcher Devin Mesoraco, even though on the disabled list, has been with the club. He went to Pittsburgh where he reunited with family, and he's here in New York, and he will stay behind when the Reds go home later tonight because tomorrow he will finally have surgery on that injured hip. It will be performed by a local area hip specialist, Dr. Brian Kelly, and I also exchanged text messages with Dr. Timothy Krimchek, who's the Reds medical director. He is also flying in. He will assist in the surgery and certainly head up his rehab process. But we wish Devin the best, and they say if all goes well, he will be ready well in time for the 2016 season, including spring training.
We all had a chance to talk to him, JD, and I think he's happy to turn the page and get this done and get ready for next year, isn't he?
Oh, there's no question about it. And again, he wanted to reiterate that if he wanted to have the surgery when the injury first occurred, they would have allowed him to have that surgery. He felt it. He owed the fans, the organization, to try everything he could to get back, not only be a pinch hitter, but try left field down at AAA, and it just didn't work out.
Thanks, JD. Good job by Josh Smith. Base hit by Eugenio Suarez, and then the sacrifice, so the Reds have a runner in scoring position with Billy Hamilton coming to the plate.
You know, in my conversations this weekend with Devin Mesoraco, he didn't seem one bit worried about this surgery.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, it's really no big deal. They do it all the time. They don't do it to catchers all the time. They're going to, and it's a surgery that I think that this hip doctor has done, feels very comfortable in, and I think it's great that Dr. Tim Krimchek is going to fly in here to observe and assist. Just goes to show you the kind of dedication he has to this ball club.
Here's Billy with the runner at second. We were talking earlier about Tommy John's surgery, and you go from clubhouse to clubhouse. The Reds are so fortunate to have Dr. Krimchek, because every player that I've talked to that's undergone surgery, either they've had the surgery from Dr. Krimchek or they've consulted with him. That's how well respected he is, not just because of his ability, but because players around Major League Baseball believe that he cares about them. It's one
and
thing.
He does.
Yeah, it's about not about just your ability, but do you really care about the player? And he's certainly made it clear to those in the Reds organization and those that he's worked at in other organizations how much he's invested in them, and that's pretty special. 3 balls, no strikes to Billy. That's a strike. Hamilton did not start the second game of the series. He did come in to pinch run when the game was resumed today, and that was it. He did start game 2 here. Tried to bunt his way on as we're retired by Matz his first time up. Fouled off, and it's 3-2. Goes to the breaking ball here.
I think he's going to try to throw the pitch that he can throw for a strike. You don't want to get another batter on in this inning. And so far, he's throwing the fastball right by Billy.
Three, 2, 1 away. Brandon Phillips on deck. Looped into center. Siciliani there. Tagging at second is Suarez, but he's going nowhere. 2 away. Our IGS bringing you the energy number. We've been telling you this whole series about Brandon and that 32 straight against the Mets. That ties Luis Castillo, set back in the early 2000s against the Mets. Where does he stand all time against a single opponent on the road? How about Joe Medwick? 46 straight at St. Louis against the Cardinals. Unbelievable. Of course, back in that era, you know, and before expansion, you were playing 22 games against each other. So you played 11 games a year on the road. You could pile those up in a couple of years.
Could, yeah.
Big swing from Brandon. Did he tweak something?
I'm wondering if he may have hurt his thumb right here. He struck out on a changeup his last at bat, and that was a changeup right there.
That's the
that
thumb
left
he hurt
thumb
last
of
year.
his. Yeah, that was the left thumb of his that was surgically repaired last year. It was also tweaked and hurt a little bit in a tag that he applied in a series against the Pirates a few days ago.
1 ball, 1 strike. The foot, the groin, the thumb is bumped and bruised, but he's still hanging in there. 1-2.
And he's just not swinging right now after that first swing and miss. He's the last guy to let you know that it's bothering him, and he would be the last guy to take himself out of the lineup.
Matz to the stretch. Suarez off second. Hopped up in the infield. Who's going to take charge? Shortstop Tejada will. That'll do it. Reds get a leadoff hit and a sacrifice. Nothing to show for it. We're still tied at 2. Bottom of the order due up. Hey fans, it's time to vote for your Cincinnati Reds All-Stars. Vote 35 times on the 2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot at Reds.com. Voting exclusively online this year. Available on your computer, tablet, and smartphone. Vote Frazier. Vote Votto. Vote Phillips. All today at Reds.com. Vote them all in. All-Star Game coming to the Queen City in a couple of weeks. Well, Steven Matz making his major league debut, locked in a 2-2 game with Josh Smith, who's pitched great for the Reds as we go to the bottom of 5. Eric Campbell will lead it off, hitting 8th. Matz due up second. The runs for the Mets came in the second. A leadoff ground ball by Siciliani, bobbled by the shortstop Suarez. And an intentional walk after a ground out, and a double by the pitcher Matz chased 2 runs home. The Reds' runs have come on home runs. A leadoff homer by Brandon Phillips, the 5th of his career in the first, and a homer by Frazier to lead off the 4th. Two balls, no strikes. the Mets third baseman. Been a revolving door down at third, and of course for many years, Chris, that was the big story of the Mets. How many third basemen were there? Starting with Don Zimmer, right?
Yeah.
For so many years. And then finally Hojo came to town, and they had a long time third baseman. Howard Johnson brought power and defense to the third base spot. Leadoff walk, so the leadoff batter on here in the fifth. And here's Matz. Well, we saw him swing the bat, but we see if he can bunt here. Short lead for Campbell down at first. Frazier in tied at third. Matz showing bunt. Now he's coming from the Chris Welsh school of bunting. He's not trying to be fancy down there.
Well, everybody in the ballpark knows he's supposed to lay down a sacrifice, so why not give yourself up? Get yourself in a comfortable bunting position early. Some guys like to pivot a little bit. Others like to square completely around. I'd move up a little bit more in the batter's box, though, if I was him. And then you get a little bit more fair territory with which to work.
Ooh. Misses on that, 2-0.
One of the hardest things to do when you're bunting and you're already squared around the bunt is to keep perspective of the strike zone. You have a tendency, especially when you're a pitcher, to be so anxious to lay a bunt down that you start chasing pitches out of the zone.
Didn't miss by much, but it's 3-0. That's a strike, says Ed Hickox behind the plate. So it's 3-1. Tim Tuffle rolls through the signs for Matz down in the third base coach's box. Tom Goodwin down at first for the Mets. Stabbed at that for a strike, and it's 3-2.
I'll tell you one
that
thing.
Didn't look good.
One of the things that I do not like about his bunting style is that he has the bat perfectly flat. You always want the barrel of the bat a little bit higher than your hand, so that way you get a better downward angle on it, and it's a lot easier to put the ball down on the ground. The answer is yes, the bunt is still on. Or maybe not. The way you hit the ball the first time up, maybe you let him swing it.
Full count, 3-2. Showing no bunt here. And that's a base hit through the hole vacated by the shortstop. It'll be first and third. Well, Mom can applaud. The family can applaud. And how many times have you seen it, Chris? Sometimes it's not whether you execute, but what happens. Doesn't get the bunt down, but ends up with a base hit. So it's first and third Mets.
Well, Josh Smith has pretty much mowed right through the top of the order. And the bottom couple of guys are the ones that are giving them all the problems. The number 8 and 9 hitters in the lineup have been on base every time they've come to the plate.
He's retired Granderson twice, but twice he hit the ball pretty hard, once to left, once to right. No one out here in the fifth, first and third. Granderson has just about carried the offense over the last 10 days for the Mets, and especially in this series. In there on the corner for a strike, 1-2. Game number 1, he had a leadoff homer. Game number 2, he had a homer in the 3rd inning and was part of the winning rally in the 13th. Line into the alley. That's going to get 1 run in. Matz around second, going to third. Coming into second will be Granderson, and he continues to rip through the Reds pitching. A rocket double from Granderson. 1 for 3. He plates a go-ahead run. 3-2 Mets.
Well, he gets a slider that is down in the zone but out over the plate. Now, I mean, every time he comes to the bat, it sounds like somebody's stacking lumber. I mean, he is hitting it hard all the time. And he's not hitting everybody hard because he's hitting 255. He's saving his best for the Reds.
He's had 2 doubles, 2 homers, 2 singles against the Reds in this series. So second and third now, still nobody out. And here is Ruben Tejada, who popped up and flied out 0 for 2. Look out. And there's some scurrying around in the bullpen. No one up throwing yet. That slapped the other way and out of play. That's the pitcher down at third for Anderson after the double, sitting at second. Infield halfway for the Reds. Right. Here comes Bruce. Long run. Got it. Matz bluffs the run to the plate, and there's your first out. Jay playing fairly shallow. Able to hold the runner at third. There's your first out, and here comes Duda. Lucas walked in the first inning on a 3-2 pitch, and then fly to center in the third. They will walk him intentionally to set up a possible inning-ending double play and deal with Flores. Duda in the first game wound up with 3 hits. Was part of one rally, and in the 13th, when the Mets won the game, it was his ground ball to third that was at first ruled an error, then ruled a hit, and the end result was a fielder's choice that allowed the winning run to score in the 2-1 victory. On Friday night in game 1, the Reds handled him pretty good. It was 0 for 3. So there's the walk to Duda. Here comes Flores. Flores struck out in the first and hit one to the wall and left in the third that Marlon Byrd picked off the top of the wall to save at least extra bases and maybe a homer. The Mets stranded 19 in the game concluded earlier today and still won it 2-1. They've stranded 2 so far today, and there are 3 out there. Missing inside. Well, where they're set up now, Chris, looks like Frazier would come to the plate, but they try for the double play out at second if it goes to Votto.
Well, one of the reasons, George, they were able to do an intentional walk to do this because they feel that Josh Smith can throw strikes. He needs one here.
Barely.
That's a good one there, a 2-0 slider on the corner.
Yeah, Pico to the bullpen.
Looks like Pedro Villarreal down there throwing.
Right field. Bruce setting up. Matt's tagging. Matz. He bluffs coming, and they got Granderson caught between second and third, and he's going to be safe. He got back. Granderson thought for sure Matz was going. He got halfway to second, but by the time the Reds could react, he was able to get back.
Well, it was shallower and shallower, it seemed, as the more Bruce came in and charged and set him up throwing. I think he got word from Tim Tuffle at third base, don't go. We don't want a collision at the plate with you on your major league debut. And they did have Granderson halfway to third base, but he got back before Votto realized he was that far off the bag. So 1 out now to go.
Well, 2 fly balls to right, and the infield can drop back as Siciliani comes to the plate. He reached on the error that started the rally in the second and flied to right second time up from the stretch is Josh Smith. That's wide for a ball, 2-0. A walk, an infield hit, a double, and a walk, and Josh trying to find a way to battle out of this jam in the 5th. And get away with only 1 run allowed. Pretty good. There's Villarreal with the ability to come in this one and go long. Mac Jenkins, bullpen coach, riding herd over. Foul into the Mets dugout. In the air down the left field line. That'll be a deceitful. Now you talk about number of pitches, and we're at 108. But number of pitches under stress, there have been a lot of them from Josh Smith today, and he's battled all afternoon long.
You're right, George, and the reason why a lot of those are under stress is because he has had very few first pitch strikes. Only 7 of 23 first pitch strikes. That's digging yourself a hole right from the very beginning of the count. Good pitch there, and he gets out of the inning.
Nice job, Josh Smith. Battled back 109 pitches. Probably his day is done, but he's battled on a day when the defense hasn't helped him.
It's July 12th. It's an exciting doubleheader. Tickets are available now at allstargame.com. And the day after, on July 13th, part of workout day, the highlight is always the Home Run Derby. And Major League Baseball announced a brand new format for the Home Run Derby. No longer will it be making 10 outs per round and accumulating home runs to move on. They will bracket it up and have single elimination brackets and timed round. Each hitter will have 5 minutes per round, and there will be ways to add additional time, including length of home runs and hitting a home run in that last minute. So you better come swinging early and often, because you can be eliminated right off the bat. And then during those 5-minute rounds, you can swing as many times as you can get it done. So we'll see how it goes at GABP. They had to do something, because the old format might have taken them about 2 a.m. to get that bad boy done.
Yeah, part of that was in conjunction with the Players Association and talking to the players, JD, because guys want to be in it, but they don't want it to go too long, and you don't want to be exhausted. It goes both ways. Who are you looking forward? I know we're all looking forward to seeing Giancarlo Stanton. You got a favorite that you'd like to see in that home run derby, JD?
I'm looking for Todd Frazier to be the captain, choose the team, and win it.
Other than our guys, I'd like to see Mike Trout.
Yeah, no question about Mike Trout.
Yep.
And Adrian Gonzalez can hit him at will in batting practice, watching him. So it'll be interesting to see if he's involved in it.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Joey. That slap foul down the left field line. You got a favorite, Chris?
Well, I think you took a couple of them right there with Frazier and Mike Trout. I'd like to see Bryce Harper hit the ball, because, hey, Great American Ballpark might be the best venue ever for the home run hitting contest. They can get a box of balls that are just a little bit souped up.
2-2. High in the air, left center field. Ceciliani takes charge, and there's one away. Joey's retired. Hey, just a reminder, you enjoyed a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in today's game, brought to you by Miller Lite.
I'll never forget a mini home run hitting contest they had in San Diego when I was playing for the Padres. Frank Howard was managing the Padres, and he was in the home run hitting contest. The Phillies were in town. Mike Schmidt hit 11 home runs to right field during the home run hitting contest, and then during the game, he hit 3 to left. And when he was asked after the game, why did he hit the ball the other way, he said, I didn't want to ruin my swing for the game.
Good point.
Of course, nowadays, I don't think you could find any player that would be willing to go into a home run contest before a real game.
Here's Todd. He homered his 25th of the year. Out in front of that, down the left field line and into the seats. That tied the game at 2 in the 4th inning. The Reds now trail at 3-2.
You really have to recognize the great work that Don Long and Lee Tinsley have done with Todd Frazier over the last couple of years. I mean, there was a time there that he was just flailing at just about anything on the outer part of the plate. And they have gone and spent hours and hours in the batting cages, trying to get him to understand how to define that outer part of that strike zone. And they did all sorts of little drills where they would toss a ball and he wouldn't swing. He would just say ball or strike, just to recognize where that strike zone starts and where it ends. And, of course, I've always thought that the best hitters have the smaller strike zones. And they just don't seem to get themselves out easily on pitches early in the count. And Frazier's beginning to really get into that. Doesn't mean you're not going to beat him with good stuff. He's still not going to hit 400, but he's going to be much more dangerous and hit pitches more than swing at him when he swings at good pitches.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Down and in, swing and a miss, strikeout. Five strikeouts for Steven Matz. 2 away. And here's Bruce. 2 walks, both on 3-2 pitches. Lazy breaking ball. A lazy fly to left. John Mayberry Jr. has it. Reds go quietly in the 6th. 1-2-3 to the bottom of 6. Mayberry Jr. to the bat rack.
Presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds, it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
I'm Jim Day. Pedro Villarreal takes over on the mound for Cincinnati, and he finally got his first Major League win in Pittsburgh. But unfortunately, his parents back in Dallas, who had to work the following morning and didn't know that the game was going to go 13 innings, didn't know that Pedro was going to close it out and get his first Major League win, had to go to sleep, get some sleep for work, so they missed it live. His phone blew up, as you could imagine, with text messages. But his parents have the MLB package. They were able to go back and look at the footage that you just saw, and obviously very proud of Pedro, and perseverance pays off because he's been wearing out I-71 up and down, back and forth from AAA and the big club, and finally got that first Major League victory.
A lot of phone calls from the Dallas area, and it well deserved, Chris. It's been great to watch his development and how he has just kept gutting it out every step of the way.
He's been really good about adjusting to coming up, not pitching, or pitching once, being sent back down, coming back up. It's not an easy thing to do because your ego is hurt every time you get sent down. You don't want to be called into the manager's office and be told you're the one that's being optioned out. His first appearance was April 15th. His next appearance was May 9th. So he did a little I-71 traveling between those two times. And then his third appearance was a month later. So it took him 3 months, really, to get 3 appearances in for the Reds, and finally picked up that victory with 2 innings of shutout baseball against the Pirates last week.
From the stretch, Villarreal deals with Mabry. And the other side of it is that was this year. I mean, he's been up and down the last 3 years. Once 3 years ago, twice the year after that, and he was up for like 10 or 12 games the year after that. So it's been a long road to get that first win, and well deserved, and great respect of his teammates at AAA and his teammates here too.
I think that's well put, because that's what you really want when you're a player, is your teammates to like you and respect you. And you want to be known as a go-to guy. And when you're a go-to guy out of the bullpen in the long relief role that Villarreal is in, that's a tough spot, because you never know when you're going to pitch or how long you're going to be asked to pitch.
2 balls, 2 strikes. This one looped into right, and that's Jason Bourgeois, who takes over in right for Jay Bruce. Bourgeois activated for this game, the second game of the suspended game doubleheader. Jason back up from AAA, gets his first action on that ball to right.
So we would presume that Villarreal has been double switched into the game to hit the Bruce spot.
Well, Villarreal would be in the 4th spot in the order. He made the last out last inning, and Bourgeois would be in the 8th spot. Here's Monell. Monell bounced out on a nice play by Phillips and then singled in the 4th inning. Chris, we've seen a lot of scoreboards in different ways. A unique one here as Bourgeois came in. This is the way the scoreboard. We got to show this to Jason after the game. Now playing right field. Now we got it.
They got it right eventually. But our crew, boy, they are right on it.
The unknown comic.
Even if you are a little bit late on the trigger, we'll take advantage of you here.
Good to have him back. Long road back for him. Real positive guy wherever he's been, at AAA or the major leagues. Here's 2 balls and 1 strike to Monell, the catcher. Three runs, 5 hits for the Mets, 2 runs, 3 hits, and an error for Cincinnati. Pedro trying to keep it right where it is and give the Reds a chance to come back in this one. Hits and runs have been scarce in this series. Outstanding pitching on both sides. Hop back and out of play. Reds will head to the airport after today's ball game and head home as the Twins come to town. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, off day Thursday, and then the Brew Crew will come in before the Reds have their final road trip before the All-Star break. 3 at Washington and 4 at Miami, and then the baseball world comes to Cincinnati. I know you're looking forward to seeing Paul Molitor and the Twins come to town. Talk about the 3 surprise teams of the year regarding the schedule and the standings. You'd certainly say the Mets in the National League and Houston and the Twins in the American League.
Yeah.
The Astros started well. The Twins started poorly and have played outstanding baseball since to hang in there.
Mike Leake on Monday against Mike Pelfrey. Anthony DeSclafani goes against Phil Hughes on Tuesday. Those are both 7:10 starts. We'll be on the air at 6:30 with Reds Live, and on Wednesday, Businessman Special, 12:30. That'll be on radio only.
You got golf coming up then, right?
Pretty good chance of that, George.
Full count, 3-2. Will the runner be going? He is. That's hit hard right past the shortstop into center. But Mayberry will have to stop there as Hamilton gets in quickly.
It looks like Pedro just gets his pitch up and right out over the plate, and that's just a nice level swing. Manel puts on the ball, and you know, he's not a really tall player. I've always found, and this is generally speaking, but the shorter players are better high ball hitters, and the taller players are better low ball hitters. And that pitch right there was right around his chest high, and I mean, he's probably built like a truck, and that's a tough pitch to get by him.
Hit the ball hard twice. Had the base hit into the corner when Bruce threw him out trying to stretch it into 2, and then that single through the middle. So nobody out and 2 on. And here's Eric Campbell, the third baseman. Campbell was intentionally walked back in the second and then worked the walk to lead off the 5th. And that clips him on the shoulder, and the bases are going to be loaded. Well, here we go again. The Reds in another bases loaded situation with no outs or 1 out. And guess who's coming up? The star of the day for the Mets, the pitcher Steven Matz. All he's done today is get a double to give the Mets a 2-1 lead in the second with 2 runs batted in. And then after he showed bunt, couldn't get one down on a 3-2 pitch, he singled to keep the rally going in the 5th. Well, bases loaded, nobody out. And it's ball 1.
Oddity, really, you see in baseball rarely a right-handed hitting, left-handed throwing pitcher. Reminds me of Randy Johnson.
From the stretch, Villarreal. He's hacking. 1-1.
Well, there's nowhere to put him, obviously, and Villarreal knows that, and so does Matz. He figures he's going to come after him and get some strikes. Reds are going to bring the infield in a 1-run game, try to cut the run off at the plate.
Second and short, halfway. Votto and Frazier to the edge of the grass.
Wow. I'll tell you one thing about Matz. He has shown a very good eye at the plate. When he was called on to lay a bunt down, he took 3 very close pitches from Josh Smith just outside the zone. Pitch number 3 there missing only by a couple of inches.
2 balls, 1 strike with the bases loaded. Pop back and it'll be out of play. Count evens at 2-2. Well, if you want to give yourself a chance here, Pedro wants a strikeout. Pena rolls through his signs. That's another hit. Matz singles the center. 1 run scores. Here comes the second run. It'll be cut by Votto. 2-run score. And this kid has had a day to remember in his debut in New York. His first at bat, a double that knocked in 2. He kept the rally going in his second at bat. And here in the 6th, a base hit that plates 2, and the Mets lead at 5-2.
Have you ever seen a debut like this from a pitcher?
Amazing.
Pretty good swing right there, I can tell you. And he hits another line drive right over the head of Brandon Phillips, brings a couple around, makes it a 3-run game.
I don't know who's happier, him or the family up in the stands. They're going crazy. Well, first and second, Matz has 4 runs batted in on the day. And 3 hits. 2 singles and a double. Well, runs batted in for the last 8 games. Curtis Granderson has really been the offense and put Matz on that list again today. Granderson and Matz 10, the rest of the team only 8.
Well, Steven Matz has more runs batted in today than any pitcher on the Reds has all year long.
Amazing. Amazing. I mean, who knows what will happen with his career. He is an outstanding prospect, and his future looks supremely bright. But this was a day that, man, family, friends, and the folks that have come from Stony Brook here, and what he's going through right now is pretty special.
Yeah, he can pitch too.
Yep. Well, the Reds have their work cut out. Still nobody out, and it's 5-2. High in the air to right. Jason Bourgeois there. Runner going nowhere, and there's finally your first out of the 6th inning. I gotta believe 4 runs batted in and 3 hits got to be close to a record for the Mets for a pitcher making his major league debut. Man. Mets over the years have had some pretty good hitting pitchers. And Tom Seaver always ended up with 19 or 20 hits a year. Doc Gooden was pretty good. Darling was pretty good. There's Tejada. Popped up, flied out, flied out. Down to third. They'll get one at second. They'll flip to first in the dirt. Coming home is the 6th run, and it will score. Phillips is probably going to be charged with the error, as Joey couldn't pick it at first. That allows the 6th run to score. 6-4 is the put out. The error allows the 6th run to score.
Well, it had to go all the way around the horn, and here's Steven Matz coming hard in there at Brandon Phillips, and maybe causing Brandon to hurry that throw just a hair. Gets away from Votto, and the run comes around from third base to score on it. So Matz is just doing about everything he's asked, including things he's not asked to do.
6 runs, 7 hits for the Reds. That's their 2nd error charged in this game. And each of the errors have been costly. The first error led to 2 unearned runs in the 2nd. Here's Duda, walk, flied out, and walk. Got in on him a little bit. Skied to center. Hamilton there. Got it. But the damage done. Steven Matz having a day to remember. 6-2 Mets. Brandon Phillips homer to lead off the first for the Reds. Made it 1-0 Cincinnati. For Phillips, 32 straight games with a base hit against the Mets. Every game he's ever played here in New York. But how about Steven Matz? He ended up with a 2-base hit that played at 2 to give the Mets a 2-1 lead. That capped the rally in the second. 2 unearned runs. Matz has had a day to remember. Todd Frazier's home run in the fourth tied the game at 2 as he led off the fourth inning. And then that man Matz has done it again. One time he showed bunt, kept an inning alive, and here, with the bases loaded, a base hit to center, plates 2 more. So for Steven Matz, 3 hits, 4 runs batted in, and he's pitched outstandingly well as well. Add it all up, and it's 6 runs, 7 hits for the Mets, 2 runs, 4 hits for the Reds, and Brandon Phillips leading it off as we, the Marlon Byrd leading it off as we go to the 7th inning. Punches a base hit through on the left side. Byrd gets his first hit. He's 1 for 3.
Byrd jumping on the first pitch he sees. That is just the 4th hit of the afternoon for the Reds.
Well, Byrd is on, and here's Pena. Pena grounded out and bounced into a 1-6-3 double play.
Well, Matt's, now that he's at 90 pitches, I would imagine that this is probably the top end as far as the number of innings they expect him to go. No activity in the Mets bullpen yet.
Off the glove of the second baseman Flores, and that'll put 2 runners on for the Reds.
That might get him shaken down there in the bullpen.
So back-to-back hits, and here comes Suarez.
I'll tell you, Brian Pena is just so willing to hit the ball the other way. Maybe being a catcher, he's got a little bit better sense of how a pitcher is going to pitch him, but he doesn't try to overpower the baseball. When he hits left-handed, you see him hit the ball to left field a lot. When he hits right-handed, you see him hit the ball to right field. He kind of just takes what the pitcher is willing to give him. Keeps the inning alive, and now with Suarez at the plate, I mean, it's a 4-run game, but Suarez has got enough power that he's very capable of making it a 1-run game.
Here's Suarez, flied to right, single to center. In the 5th, he singled. Josh Smith sacrificed him to second, but he was stranded there. That breaking ball drops in there.
It's a dandy.
Danny Worthen gives him a little bit of a break and a pep talk as they get action up in the bullpen to the Mets. Flores loosening. Ricky Bonas, the bullpen coach, right next to him.
Well, Dan Worthen, the pitching coach for the Mets, is an old left-hander that is probably just delighted to have Mats up here now, so southpaw with which to work.
And if you haven't been with us the last couple of days, the Mets, of course, going to a 6-man rotation now that they brought Mats up. That'll cut down the number of innings for these young pitchers, especially a couple of them that have gone through Tommy John surgery. There's a bouncer down to short. They get one at second, on to first. A twin killer. 6-4-3 double play for the Mets. Suarez retired. And here comes Jason Bourgeois for his first at bat after coming in on the double switch last inning. Down at Louisville at AAA, hit over 300 with solid defense to go along with it. And now with Christopher Negron sent back down to AAA, he remains the #1 substitute in the outfield, and he can play some center field as well. Strike one to Jason. Runner at third is Bird, as they would love to at least get a run in and get a little closer here in the 6-2 game. Matz from the stretch. You figure, Chris, this will probably be his last inning, heading to 100 pitches with action in the bullpen. And if he gets out of this jam, he'll get a dandy of a send-off. Bourgeois trying to get the Reds back in it with a big swing. Well, have a day, Steven Matz. What a debut for the young left-hander from New York. For his family and his friends, and for that young man, it's been a special day. The Reds trail this one 6-2. They'll have to rally. We'll keep it here for God Bless America.
Here, the performance setting partner of the New York Mets. Keep cool with temperature-regulating pillows and sheets that fuel your favorite player. Gear.com. Sleep fuels everything.
Stand beside her and guide her through the night in the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. My home, sweet home. God bless America. My home, sweet home.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paris Ray.
Mets lead at 6-2. A day to remember for Steven Matz, the youngster. 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs. Pitched outstandingly. First Mets pitcher with 4 runs batted in since 1990. It was Doc Gooden, our steel power tool performer. Boy, Chris, a day that he will never forget.
Well, he doesn't remember that day by Doc Gooden because he was only 1 year old. But he will remember today, and a lot of people who are here at this ballpark will remember too. That's a strikeout of Jason Bourgeois that probably ended the day for Mats, but what a day it was, both on the mound and at the plate.
Here's Wilmer Flores as we go to the bottom of the 7th. Flores 0 for 3, a strikeout and 2 fly ball outs. Backhand by Frazier. Over to Votto, and there's 1 away. Ivan De Jesus comes into the game at second, so Brandon Phillips will have the rest of the day off. Significantly for Brandon on this birthday. He did pick up another hit, and that stretches his consecutive game hit streak against the Mets to 32 straight games, every game he's ever played here in New York. 1 away. Here's Siciliani. Votto's got this. He'll take it himself. 2 away. And don't forget, you can celebrate 4th of July weekend at the ballpark and cheer on the Reds when they take on the Brewers for as low as $12. Plus, stick around after the game for a special 4th of July fireworks show brought to you by the Missouri Division of Tourism. Call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or reds.com/tickets. John Mayberry Jr. with 2 away. He grounded out, struck out, and singled to start the rally in the 6th. Great to have you with us, George Grant, Chris Welsh, Jim Day. Reds will head home after today for their 2-series homestand, and of course coming up after the game we've got Reds Live post game that'll come your way. Guys back in Cincinnati will be wrapping things up. Brian Giesenslaw and Jeff Pecoro. Great to have you here. Josh Hall, our producer. Roy Alpers, our director. Matt Sigafus with highlights both ways. We've had some outstanding plays by the Reds on this day, and some brilliance by the Mets as well. And Jim Miller doing some graphics for us too. Hit pretty good to center, but with a measure on it is Hamilton. Billy's there, got it. 1, 2, 3. Reds back to work. Need some runs. Trailed by 4. Thanks, guys. And Steven Matz is continuing on. He comes in here in the 8th inning, top of the 8th. Billy Hamilton hitting in the 9th spot will lead it off. Now over 100 pitches at 102. He's right about at this mark for most of his starts at AAA. But he'll go over it here, and he's still not missing a beat at 95 miles an hour.
Oh, he sure is. And I mean, he's got a nice tight delivery, throwing strikes and throwing hard.
Bounce down to first. Duda will grab it and tap the bag. Hamilton retired. Billy 0 for 3. A ground out, a fly ball out, and that bouncer down to first. By the way, Chris, at the end of this month, we say goodbye to a couple of guys who have done tremendous work for us. I mean, I enjoy it when I'm not with the club and just keeping up on what's happening with the Reds. But Kevin Goheen and Hal McCoy, the real McCoy, will no longer be providing some of the services they provided for us. And here's a line shot to center field. Long run. Siciliani's got it 2 away. Solid work from both of them. And of course, Hal McCoy, there's nobody better in the business. Kevin's done a tremendous job. I was blessed to be able to go to North Carolina when Hal was inducted into the Sports Writers and Broadcasters Hall of Fame. And he's just idolized by people all over the country, all of us that have worked with him all these years. He'll continue to do his work with the Dayton Daily News, which is great, but going to miss seeing their work on a daily basis.
Well, I think that Hal McCoy probably has a book signing tour to go on. I mean, he's got a new book that's out, and it's a fine one. And Kevin Goheen, I'm sure that is going to have a lot of freelance work, and maybe you're going to see him in a local newspaper from time to time. Both of those guys and their love of baseball, there's no doubt about it. And I'm sure we'll see them in the ballpark plenty.
Thanks, guys, for all your contributions. The real McCoy's probably in the man cave right now, puffing on a cigar.
Whether it's lit or not.
Yep. Here's Joey, grounded out, struck out, flied out, 0 for 3. Well, the Mets have hung their hat on great pitching so far this year, and the Reds have gotten a full dose of that in this series.
Little buckle by Joey, and maybe just too high in the zone.
Votto will take a walk with 2 outs, and that'll bring up Frazier. The offense for the Reds, if you're joining the slate, and that will be it. The lefty faces Votto. Here comes Terry Collins, and it'll be a curtain call for Steven Matz. 7 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts, and a walk. Listen to this. There's the family, mom, dad, and a whole bunch of family and friends. Now let's see if the Reds can do some business against the bullpen. Time for our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Stadium. Johnny Callison with the walk-off home run. In 2013, right here at Citi Field, the American League won 3-0. It was the 7th All-Star Game shutout, and the great Mariano Rivera was named MVP on that day. And if Steven Matz stays healthy, perhaps he'll have an All-Star spotlight in his future.
Here's Carlos Torres, who will come on with 2 outs and Votto on to face Todd Frazier. Frazier homered to tie the game at 2 in the 4th. His 25th and 53rd run batted into the season. Torres' second appearance of the day. He appeared in the first game, and if you joined us late, the continuation of the suspended game, Torres was the first pitcher. Went 2/3 of an inning as the Mets used 7 pitchers in the game and won it 2-1. They finally won it in the 13th. On a walk, a single, an error, and then a bouncing ball that at first was called an error and then a hit. There's a broken bat down to short. They'll get the out at second, and that'll do it for the Reds in the 8th inning. 6-2. Mets hold on to the lead, heading to the bottom of 8. Brought to you by Miller Lite. Even though the Reds are come up short so far, they've had some great defense. How about Skip Schumacher in the suspended game? A brilliant diving catch, the first batter of the new inning in the new game. And then after this, Duda bangs a ball off the wall. And in back-to-back pitches, 2 great plays, he throws out Duda trying to stretch it into 2. High fives all around for Skip. Second game, Marlon Byrd in left. He picks one off the top of the wall. Could have been a homer, or at the very least extra bases. And how about Jay Bruce in right? Monell bangs one into the corner. Bruce picks it up and guns him down at second with an El Perfecto from the corner. So Reds have had some great defense on this day in moments, but they've also made some errors that have been costly, Chris.
Well, they have given up a number of unearned runs in today's. You almost can call it a doubleheader based on the fact that they played a lot of innings in that extra inning game to finish off last night's suspended game.
Monell skies it to center. He's retired for the first out as Billy Hamilton gloves it. Villarreal came in the 8th inning. Gave up 2 hits and a walk to load the bases. And Matt's second run scoring hit of the game made it 5-2. And another run scored on an error to make it 6-2. In the second, with Josh Smith on the mound, the leadoff error on Siciliani's ground ball by Suarez opened the gates for 2 unearned runs. Your report card on Josh Smith today, Chris?
Well, you know, again, George, I think the bases on balls really hurt him. He went 5 innings and walked 4 batters. So, you know, that's 10 walks in his first 2 starts as a major leaguer. He's got to figure out that his stuff is good enough to pitch here and attack the strike zone a little bit more.
Villarreal to the stretch. That's up high to Eric Campbell. Campbell today has been on 3 times, all walks. Intentionally walked in the second. A leadoff 3-2 walk in the 5th, and then a walk to load the bases in the 6th. Reds head home in the pitching rotation. On Monday, it'll be Mike Leake against former Met Mike Pelfrey. Pelfrey with a bounce-back year, a 5-4 record. Mike, also with a 5-4 record, will go for win number 6. Anthony DeSclafani will go for his 6th win. Tuesday against the Twins against former Yankee Phil Hughes. And Johnny Cueto against Trevor May on Wednesday. That's the afternoon game. Off day in Cincinnati on Thursday, and then Milwaukee comes to town. I think the guys probably, Chris, are looking forward to being home after a road trip where there's been a lot of rain and a lot of rain delays and long games.
Yeah, you're right, George, especially if it ends on a note in which this game continues the way it is right here. I think it really started with that long travel night when the Reds didn't get into here until 5 in the morning. And you have rain delays and bad weather. You don't get to take infield or batting practice, and you just get out of a routine. I'm not making excuses for this ball club, but you know, they certainly didn't. I don't think they had the best weekend, and I think there were a lot of contributing factors.
3-2 pitch, and that's a walk, ball 4. So 4 walks for Eric Campbell on this afternoon. And with the pitcher spot due up, Matz's spot, here comes Michael Kadire to pinch hit. Kadire started the first 2 games of the series. And with 6 homers, 28 knocked in, and an overall average of 248. That's in there for a strike. These 2 teams will not see each other till the end of the season. The Mets will come to town the final week of the regular season for 4 games against the Reds in Cincinnati. In that month of September, the Reds will play almost exclusively inside the division. The only 2 out of division teams they'll face will be the Giants, who'll come in, who will host the Reds on that final road trip, long road trip. 3 at San Francisco, 3 at Milwaukee, and 3 at St. Louis in the middle of September. Then the Mets come to town on the next to last weekend of the season for 4 games, and the Reds will end the regular season on the road in Pittsburgh. Terry Collins, apropos, said, when saw him this morning, said, well, let's hope when we see each other next time we're both in contention. Well put. With the pitching the Mets have, you figure they're going to find a way to hang in there.
Well, they're in a division that's not being dominated by one team.
Mm-hmm.
And That will help them right there as far as going after the division crown. But they need some help with their offense. Obviously, they could use to get healthy. I'm not so sure that they're going to be big movers at the trade deadline.
5-4 on to first. Not in time as it pulls Votto off the bag. So they get the second out of the inning on the 5-4 force out at second. And here comes Granderson. Curtis has been the one-man wrecking crew of this series. It started with his first at bat in game one, a leadoff home run to give the Mets a 1-0 lead. In a game they won 2-1, and he was also part of the rally that produced the second run. And in game two of the series, he had a homer, a double, a single, and 2 walks. Foul to the left side and out of play. And here it was his double in the 5th inning that gave the Mets a 3-2 lead, a game that they now lead 6-2. Strike one to Curtis. Josh Schmidt started, went 5 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 strikeouts, but those 4 walks and 109 pitches in the 5 innings of work. Villarreal has now approaching the 50 pitch mark since he came on in the 6th inning. Final now in the game in San Diego. Arizona won at 6-4. Giants beat Colorado 6-3. Milwaukee over Minnesota 5-3. Atlanta beat the Pirates 2-1. Dodgers beat Miami 2-0. There goes the runner. The throw not nearly in time and a stolen base. Washington beat Philadelphia 3-2 and yesterday's postponed game, and in the second game Philadelphia leads Washington 8-4. They're in the 7th tonight. Cubs and Cardinals go at it. Cardinals continue to be remarkable. They've had their own share of injuries, but they continue to lead the division coming into today. 8 games up. Say why steal a base up by 4. Dusty Baker always used to call it slam range. Get more than 4 ahead.
Yeah, it seems at this point like it's rubbing it in, but it's not.
No. Don't want to put yourself in a position where one swing of the bat can tie a ball game.
And if the Reds didn't care about that run, they wouldn't have held him on first base anyway, or made a throw to second.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Again?
Granderson gets another hit. That'll produce another run.
Who does this guy think he is? Steven Matz?
Curtis picks up his 2nd run batted in of the day. And his 4th run batted in of the series. Well, the stolen base pays off for the Mets. And they are now out of slam range, leading at 7-2. And that'll be it for Pedro. Villarreal on his way out. Brian Price takes the ball from him while the pitching change takes place. We'll take time out for these messages. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Cincinnati for the Midsummer Classic. Home field advantage in the World Series on the line. Coverage of the 2015 MLB All-Star Game begins July 14th, 7 o'clock Eastern on Fox, and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. I'm Jim Day. Reds going to make that final push to get some Reds into that all-star starting lineup. They'll hold a Vote Reds luncheon tomorrow in the Fox Sports Ohio Club at Great American Ballpark, if anyone's available. 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow. They invite you to bring your smartphone, your tablet, or laptops. And there'll be some free beverages and some free cheese conies if you come in and vote at least 35 times. And they're trying to make that final push to get Frazier to be the starting third baseman in the All-Star Game. You can vote online. Voting goes through July 2nd.
And don't forget about Phillips and Votto, too. Burt Badenhap will take over. JD, I'll be voting for you. Have a great All-Star week. Fly ball right field. Bourgeois over, got it. Badenhop, 1 pitch, 1 out. Last roundup time for the Reds, heading to the 9th. Cincinnati needs 5 to tie. Live on Fox Sports Ohio with all the info you need for every game. Reds Live presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. As always, Brian Giesenslaw, Jeff Pecora will be there to fill you in on what happens before every game. And don't forget, coming up, we've got more baseball coming your way as the Twins come to town. Former Met Mike Pelfrey, former Yankee Phil Hughes, and May. That's your rotation for the Twins as Mike Leake will go for his 6th win. DeSclafani will go for his 6th, and Johnny Cueto will try to even his record at 500. Good to see the Twins coming to town, Chris.
It'll be fun. You know, we have yet to get up there to Target Field. The Reds have not played up there. We've had the Twins, I think, a couple of times since we've been in Minneapolis, but always good to get a look at the Twinkies.
Here's Skip Schumacher. Schumacher in the pitcher spot to lead off the 9th. Schumacher's contribution, 2 brilliant plays defensively when the game resumed today after the suspension of yesterday's game. 2 remarkable plays in left field, 2 of the best defensive plays of the year for the Reds. Ansel Robles will pitch for the 2nd time. Robles was the 4th pitcher used in game number 1 today, the resumption of yesterday's suspended game. So recap what occurred today. The Mets won game 1 as Siciliani will move to left and Juan Lagares is in center. Mets won 2-1, winning it in the 13th inning after the game was resumed in a tie from yesterday. All told, it was just about 24 hours between the start of the game and the end of the game. From the stretch is Robles, 2-2. Marlon Byrd is on deck. Line drive base hit left field for Schumacher. And the Reds have a life here in the 9th. Here in the second game, Josh Smith went 5 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, struck out 3, walked 4, 109 pitches. On the other side of it, Steven Matz had a day he'll remember for a long time. 7 and 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts, 3 walks, 4 runs batted in, and 3 hits for the young lefty. There's Marlin. Bird struck out, flied out, and singled.
5 runs down. The Reds have to make sure this kid will throw strikes.
Two and 0. This an inside 3-0. Reds hoping for a life here in the ninth. Crowd of 32,531. Many of them remaining. There will be a Steve Miller Band concert after the game. And I guess you could say Steven Matz was flying like an eagle today.
Well put.
Man.
He also did a little abracadabra at the plate.
Good stuff. High in the air to short left field. Tejada back. Ruben has it. And there's your first out of the ninth inning. Mets have been 2 different teams. On the road, they've struggled. Only 11 and 26, but at home they've been brilliant. 28 and 11 right now. If they win this one, they'll be 29 and 11 at home. This came after the last couple of years when they've struggled big time to win at home.
Well, remind you a little bit of the Reds. I can't call them brilliant at home, but they do have a plus 500 record at home, 6 games over. But they, like the Mets, have struggled when they get away from their home park. Looks like the Reds were going to begin to change that around on this road trip. And slim pickings here in New York.
There's Pena 1 for 3, a base hit his last time up. Eugenio Suarez on deck for the Reds. The other tidbits, if you joined us late, Brandon Phillips did get another hit in this second game of today. That stretches his hitting streak against the Mets to 32 straight games, every game he's ever played here in New York. And Todd Frazier, along with Brandon Phillips, each homered in this game. For Frazier, now second in the league with 25 homers. 2 behind Giancarlo Stanton, who of course is on the disabled list for 4 to 6 weeks with a broken bone in his wrist. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, you put Robles on that list of hard throwers out of his bullpen. He's consistently 95, 96, Chris.
Well, he's another young arm that they've got coming up that depends on the heat. He's a rookie this year. This just his 23rd game as a major leaguer.
And the first but foul. Good hands as usual from Billy Hatch. Hatcher tosses the souvenir. Yeah, move many down there. Two. American League Finals. Houston beat the Yankees 3-1 in Houston. Detroit has won over the White Sox 5-4. Red Sox won 5-3 over Tampa Bay, and Baltimore beat the Indians 4-0. That's a final. Swing and a miss. Pena retired. Second out of the inning. Kansas City keeps winning 5-3 over Oakland, and Cleveland and Baltimore are scoreless now in the second. For the second game of the two after the rain that's just bothered just about everybody this weekend. Reds down to their final out, and with Duda moving behind the runner Schumacher, he'll take second. Defensive indifference, no stolen base. Popped up right side and out of play. Suarez 1 for 3, a base hit to lead off the fifth. Bounced into a double play and flied to right. Oh, 0-2 to the Red shortstop. And we're even up 2-2. Suarez hanging in for the Reds. Well, the good news is at least you got a good dinner last night.
We did have a great dinner at Pagani's. Young man from Lancaster, Ohio, came out here as a chef, bought the restaurant, invited Marty and his wife and my wife and me over, and we have Mark Barrett. Thank you very much for a great night.
And a third, but foul.
You would have liked it, George. A lot of pasta on the menu. And I know that you know your pasta.
We've hit some pretty good places over the years.
Yes, we have. Hard to go wrong here in New York City.
You're not kidding.
Although if you're going to be served up 3 losses in a row, you're not in a hurry to come back.
I'll take the wins over the food. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Robles to the stretch. That hit the bat. Might have gotten his hand too, but hit the bat.
Well, if it got in his hand, he would have to prove it because it did not get a reaction, didn't look like, from Ed Hickox.
Sure sounded like it though, didn't it?
And of course, when you get on your hands are not part of the bat, so you should be awarded first base. Although as hard as Robles is throwing, if he got on his hands, I think we'd know it. And he would too.
2-2. Eugenio hanging in against Robles. Big right-hander from the stretch. Popped up into left center. Who's going to take charge? Siciliani will, and that'll do it. The Mets, after a 7-game losing streak on the road, won their final game on the road and have taken the first 3 of their homestand. as great pitching was the story of the final game of this series. 2 hours, 56 minutes in a day that Steven Matz will remember for a long, long time. 4 runs batted in, 3 hits, 7 2/3 innings of great pitch baseball, 5 hits and 2 runs. And the Reds have a tough trip to New York on this weekend, Chris.
Oh, you're right about that, George. I mean, they ran into some pretty good pitching, there's no doubt. And unfortunately, maybe the future of Mets pitching, because all the guys that they ran into are young and on the still up and coming. Reds are trying to regroup. They'll come back and play 3 games at home against the Minnesota Twins. Plenty of tickets. The weather ought to be good, and they'll be happy to get back to Great American Ballpark.
Back with more after these messages from New York.